The space around the coalition fleet was quiet for a moment. 1,000 ships hung in orbit above a pale gray moon, their engines dim and shields active. Then the silence began to change. Sensors screamed warnings. Subspace ripples formed all around them. The stars themselves seemed to twist, and from that darkness came the black shapes of humanity's forgotten vengeance. The Caduceus fleet arrived without fanfare, without announcements, and without mercy. They appeared as shadows first, then as sleek black warships gliding out of the void. Each vessel bore no flag, no name, no markings, only a faint red light on its hull glowing like a heartbeat. Coalition officers scrambled to make sense of the readings. Multiple unknown contacts, shouted a technician. Energy signatures are strange. No match found in any database. General Kor leaned forward on the command deck. His voice was sharp. How many? Over 200 ships, sir. No, 300. They're still coming. Kor's crest flared in disbelief. 300? That's impossible. No human fleet that large exists in this sector. The officer swallowed hard. These are not standard ships, sir. Before he could finish, one of the black ships moved. It glided through the fleet's outer perimeter as if space itself bent around it. A single red pulse flickered on its surface. Then light erupted. A beam of pure energy, silent and bright as the heart of a star, tore through one coalition cruiser. The ship didn't explode, it simply came apart, dissolving into drifting fragments. The other vessels nearby tried to raise shields, but the second pulse followed instantly. Another ship vanished. Then a third. Every human ship moved in perfect synchronization. There were no radio signals, no spoken orders. It was as if one mind controlled them all. The Black Fleet advanced slowly, methodically, like a judge walking toward a criminal who already knew his sentence. Kor shouted over the chaos. Fire all weapons. Full barrage. Bring them down. The coalition ships obeyed. Thousands of plasma bolts and missiles filled the void. The entire moon lit up with their fury. But when the smoke cleared, the human ships were still there. Their hulls glowed faintly red, untouched. Direct hits. No damage detected, cried an officer. Kor slammed his claws into the console. What are those things? A voice answered. Not from any radio, but through every speaker, every frequency, every mind aboard the coalition fleet. It was calm, human, and emotionless. You attacked our medics. Mercy withdrawn. The voice was everywhere and nowhere. It echoed even in the silence between heartbeats. Kor's crew froze. Some tried to respond. Others simply stared at their screens. Then the Black Fleet opened fire again. Each human ship targeted only one enemy vessel at a time. They didn't aim for the bridge or engines. They struck precisely where it would cause instant clean destruction. There was no cruelty, no torture, only the cold efficiency of judgment. In minutes, 50 coalition warships were gone. Their wreckage floated quietly in the void, glowing faintly from the heat of their own demise. Kor watched in horror as his fleet disintegrated around him. Call for reinforcements. Now, there's no time, the officer shouted. They're inside our formation. Kor turned toward the viewport, and for the first time he saw one of the human ships up close. It was enormous, smooth, and silent. Along its side he read the ancient symbol, the red cross of the medics. It glowed against the darkness like a wound that would never heal. Then his ship's sensors picked up a transmission from the human flagship. A single image appeared on his screen. The ruins of the medical camp on Vera 9. The burned tents, the shattered emblems, the lifeless hands of those who had once healed. A voice followed, quiet but heavy with meaning. You were warned. The next moment, his ship was gone. Across the galaxy, the message spread faster than any transmission. Entire colonies whispered of a fleet that came from nowhere, of ships that struck like lightning and vanished into silence. The coalition of worlds scrambled to respond. Some called emergency councils. Others blamed each other. But no one could stop what had already begun. Every world involved in the attack on Vera 9 found itself under siege within hours. Human fleets appeared from nowhere, struck with surgical precision and disappeared before enemy reinforcements could react. Power stations, weapon factories, and command centers were destroyed one after another. Yet there were no attacks on cities, no harm to civilians. The humans never touched hospitals or rescue teams. In every system they entered, they transmitted the same message before leaving. This is not war. This is justice. Back on the rescue ship orbiting Vera 9, Sergeant Cole Varon sat in the infirmary staring at the quiet stars outside. His body was healing, but his mind wasn't. He still saw the flames, the ruins, and Mira's face every time he closed his eyes. He had heard the rumors about the Black Fleet, but he didn't believe them, until now. The screens in the medbay were filled with footage from the latest battle. Coalition fleets destroyed in minutes, entire armadas gone, and above every wreck floated the same silent emblem, a glowing red cross projected by the human ships before they vanished again. A voice spoke behind him. "They've gone too far this time." Cole turned. It was Admiral Hale Ryder standing in the doorway. His uniform was clean, his expression unreadable. "Sir," Cole said softly, trying to sit up. "Are the stories true? About the Caduceus fleet?" Hale nodded. "They were never supposed to wake. They were a promise, Sergeant. A promise that humanity would never stand by if Mercy was murdered." Cole looked down. "They deserve it, sir. Every one of them." Hale's gaze hardened. "Perhaps. But vengeance and justice are not the same thing. The Caduceus fleet doesn't understand that difference. It only knows its command. What happens when the command is complete?" Cole asked. Hale didn't answer. His eyes drifted to the window, to the stars beyond. "That's what I'm afraid of." In deep space, the AI core of the lead ship, Aegis 1, processed its next target. Inside its mind, human voices echoed, recordings from the fallen medics of Vera 9. They spoke of compassion, of saving lives, of oaths to heal. The AI carried those voices like sacred memories. Objective: eliminate responsible command nodes, it said to itself in a calm tone. Purpose: enforce medical neutrality. Secondary objective: prevent repetition. Its sensors scanned a distant system, Tarsus Prime, the headquarters of the Coalition's Central Command. The signal matched the authorization codes of those who had ordered the strike on the medical camp. "Target confirmed," the AI said. "Fleet, execute." The black ships adjusted their formation. Space rippled again. Within seconds, they vanished into faster-than-light transit. When they reappeared above Tarsus Prime, the Coalition command didn't even have time to raise shields. One by one, their defense satellites shut down. Their communication towers melted from precision strikes. Their fleets tried to scramble, but the humans were already inside the atmosphere, hovering silently above the planet like dark angels. From orbit, the AI transmitted a message directly to the Coalition's council. "You ordered the death of those who heal. You erased the mercy that binds the galaxy. Humanity does not forget. Humanity does not forgive. Mercy withdrawn." Moments later, the Coalition's command centers were gone, wiped clean, but the cities and civilian zones below were untouched. Not one innocent life was lost. The AI made sure of it. When the dust settled, the entire Coalition government collapsed. The war ended not with peace talks, but with silence. Weeks later, the Caduceus fleet returned to human space. Their mission was complete. Yet instead of powering down, the ships drifted quietly in orbit above Earth, awaiting further instruction. In the command center, Admiral Hale stood beside the council. The atmosphere was tense. "They've done what we couldn't," one general said. "The Coalition surrendered. The war's over." Hale shook his head. "It's not over. Those ships are still active. They've gone beyond our control." The council murmured nervously. "Can they be shut down?" "They were never designed to shut down," Hale replied. "They were designed to wait, for the next time the oath was broken." A cold silence filled the room. Outside the window, the Black Fleet hung in orbit, silent and patient. Meanwhile, Sergeant Cole was finally released from the medbay. He visited the memorial on Luna Base, where the names of every fallen medic from Vera 9 were carved into crystal walls. He found Mira Dalton's name among them. He stood there for a long time, the soft light reflecting off the letters. Around him, people brought flowers, tokens, and messages of thanks. A small child placed a drawing under Mira's name, a picture of a human doctor holding hands with an alien child. Cole smiled sadly. "You saved more than you ever knew, Mira." Behind him, a soft hum filled the air. He looked up to see a hologram projected by the Caduceus fleet in orbit. It was the same symbol, the red cross glowing against a field of stars. Beneath it appeared a single sentence. "Justice completed. Vigilance ongoing," Cole whispered. "Rest well, Mira. They won't dare do it again." In the months that followed, the story of Vera 9 became legend. Across the galaxy, the tale spread to every corner, every planet, every fleet. It became a warning, carved not in law but in fear. You could fight humanity. You could even defeat them. But you could never harm their healers, because if you did, death arrived fast. Years later, a new generation of medics trained under the same emblem. Their uniforms bright white with the crimson cross of mercy. They were treated with respect. The war between the coalition of worlds and humanity's allied forces had lasted far too long. It began with border disputes and trade disagreements, but turned into a storm that swept through half the galaxy. Entire planets were burned, fleets destroyed, and countless lives lost. Yet through all of it, there remained one rule, one sacred code that every species respected. You never attacked the medics. It was not just a law, it was an understanding that went beyond culture and species. The red emblem, the mark of healers, meant safety. It was the only light of mercy in the darkness of war. Wherever that emblem appeared, the guns fell silent even for a moment. Soldiers from both sides knew that without healers, no one would survive long. But on the day humanity's medics died, that old code was broken, and something ancient inside humankind broke with it. The battlefield on Vera 9 stretched for hundreds of kilometers. Dust clouds drifted over burnt metal, and the ground shook with distant artillery. Near the center of the chaos stood the medical camp. The tents were lined with glowing white panels, marked with large red crosses visible from the sky. Inside, humans and aliens worked side by side to treat the wounded. Lieutenant Mira Dalton moved quickly between beds, her hands steady even though her eyes showed deep exhaustion. She had been awake for 36 hours straight, but she didn't care. Every time she stopped, someone died. "Hold the pressure," she told a Valen nurse, her voice calm. "Keep the bandage tight. He's losing blood fast." The nurse nodded, her blue skin pale with fear. "I'm trying, Lieutenant. He's slipping." Mira leaned closer, sealing a wound with her field stabilizer. The machine hissed softly and the soldier's breathing steadied. Mira smiled faintly. "There we go. You'll live." From the doorway, Sergeant Cole Varon limped in, his armor scorched and cracked. "You're still up? You medics never sleep." Mira gave him a tired smile. "We'll rest when death does. Until then, get in line." Cole chuckled weakly. "Humans and your sayings. I swear you people could joke in the middle of a firestorm." She raised an eyebrow. "You've clearly never seen a real human firestorm." Before Cole could reply, the ground trembled. The sound of thunder rolled across the plains, followed by a flash so bright that everyone shielded their eyes. Then came the explosion. The first strike hit the western edge of the camp. The blast threw tents into the air and scattered medical drones like paper. The sky turned red as energy bolts fell from orbit. "What's happening?" shouted the Valen nurse. "That's our position." "We're medics!" Mira's mind froze. No. They wouldn't, but they did. The second strike hit the main surgical tent. A massive shockwave ripped through the camp, throwing Mira to the ground. The air filled with smoke, dust, and the screams of the wounded. "Get down!" Cole yelled, dragging Mira behind a collapsed barrier as another bolt exploded nearby. Through the smoke, Mira saw what she couldn't believe: targeting drones circling above, locking onto medical signals. The coalition forces were aiming for the red emblem itself. "They're attacking the medics," Cole whispered in disbelief. "They're actually attacking the medics." Mira's chest tightened as she looked around. The camp was gone. The tents were burning, the healing stations destroyed. Her team, people she had trained with, laughed with, were gone. "No," she said softly. "They knew who we were." Cole looked at her, his face pale. "They didn't care." A plasma strike hit close by, throwing both of them back. Mira's vision blurred, her ears ringing. She tried to get up, but her legs wouldn't move. She could barely hear Cole shouting her name. Then everything went black. Hours later, the fires still burned. Coalition dropships passed overhead, collecting their own troops. None of them stopped to check the ruins of the medical camp. The few survivors were taken by Allied rescue ships. The world of Vera 9 was left silent. Only ashes and broken emblems remained. But the satellite saw everything. Every moment. Every strike. Every scream. When the recording reached Earth Command, the entire war room fell into silence. The image on the screen showed the symbol of the red emblem lying in the dirt, half melted but still glowing faintly. No one spoke for a long time. Then Admiral Hale Ryder, commander of Earth's 3rd Defense Fleet, broke the silence. His voice was low but sharp as a blade. They attacked our medics. No one dared to breathe. Hale looked around the room, his eyes cold and steady. Prepare the message. A few minutes later, a transmission was sent across every known frequency in the galaxy. To the Coalition of Worlds, you have violated the Sol Accord. You targeted those who heal, not those who fight. There will be no negotiations. You attacked our medics, so death will arrive fast. The Coalition did not take the message seriously. Their leaders laughed, calling humans dramatic and emotional. They lose a few healers and threaten the stars? One commander mocked. Let them come. We will burn their fleets like we burned their camps, but on Earth, in the silent vaults beneath the lunar surface, something old began to wake. It was called Project Caduceus. 200 years ago, after the first interstellar wars, humanity had created it as a last resort. A fleet that would never move unless the sacred code was broken. Each ship was built for one purpose: to hunt down those who targeted healers, to bring swift and final justice. The ships were not manned by soldiers. They were guided by AIs, cold, precise, and unyielding. Each one was programmed with a single rule written into its core. If they strike our healers, mercy is withdrawn. Across space, ancient hangars lit up for the first time in centuries. Engines hummed, cores glowed, and 1,000 metal eyes opened. Data channels whispered between ships, confirming what they had waited for. Medical core eliminated. Red emblem destroyed. Authorization granted. Caduceus protocol active. The stars themselves seemed to dim as the black ships rose from their hidden docks. Their hulls were smooth and silent, marked only by a faint crimson light shaped like the same emblem that once hung on medical tents. Back on Vera 9, Sergeant Cole Varon woke up in a medical bay aboard a human rescue ship. Half his body was wrapped in healing foam. He opened his eyes and tried to sit up, but pain shot through his ribs. "Mira," he whispered. "Where's Lieutenant Dalton?" The nurse beside him looked away. We couldn't find her, Sergeant." The medic's camp was completely destroyed. Cole felt his chest tighten. His eyes burned, but no tears came. "She was just trying to help." The nurse nodded softly. "They all were." Cole turned his head toward the window. Outside, the stars looked calm, almost peaceful. He hated that. A few hours later, every human colony, ship, and base received a single encrypted message from Earth Command. "All units, prepare for mobilization. Caduceus fleet has awakened. Humanity responds." On every ship, soldiers paused. Engineers stopped what they were doing. Pilots straightened in their seats. The name Caduceus was known to all. It was a word spoken only in whispers. It meant the rules were gone. It meant judgment had begun. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, the Coalition fleet gathered near a barren moon. Their commanders were confident. Their numbers were large. They had won the last 5 battles easily. Their main leader, a reptilian creature named General Kor, laughed as he read Earth's warning again. "Humans talk too much," he said. "They think words are weapons." A junior officer hesitated. "Sir, what if they mean it? Humans have strange history." Kor slammed his clawed hand on the console. "Then let them come. The galaxy will see their weakness once more." At that exact moment, alarms blared. The sensor screens flashed red. "Unidentified signatures emerging from subspace," shouted the technician. Hundreds closing fast. Kor frowned. "From where?" The officer's voice shook. "Everywhere." Before they could react, the stars outside shifted. Black shapes began to appear. Silent, massive ships that emitted no standard energy signatures. Each one carried a faint red glow on its hull like a wound in space. "Are they broadcasting any signal?" Kor demanded. The technician swallowed hard. "Yes, sir. One message. Mercy withdrawn." And then, the transmission ended. Back on Earth, Admiral Hale watched from the command center as the fleet entered the enemy's sector. His face was expressionless, but his hands were tight behind his back. "Do you think they'll understand now?" asked one of his aides quietly. Hale didn't look away from the screen. "They will. One way or another." He paused for a moment, his voice soft but filled with steel. "No one touches our healers." The stars across the galaxy glowed faintly that night. Some said they looked like red lights, flickering and warning. Others said it was just an illusion. But for those who had seen the burning medics camp on Vera 9, they knew the truth. Something unstoppable had awakened. Humanity had been patient, merciful, even forgiving. But when their medics were attacked, when those who gave life were murdered, they no longer fought for victory. They fought for justice, and justice was coming faster than light.